With Fresh Take focusing on the next generation of directors in advertising, we have with us Mr. Rahul Mathew, CCO of McCann India, and Mr. Kashif Memon, founder of Mothership Productions, to discuss with us how filmmaking is changing and what the industry needs from young filmmakers today. So, firstly, Fresh Take is talking about discovering new ad filmmakers today. What do you think young filmmakers are bringing today to the table, and what do you think that's been missing for a long time?
Well, I don't think anything's been missing as such. I think probably what was missing is, an opportunity for the younger ones to get to this point quicker. And what they bring to the table is like a fresh process, a fresh energy, newer techniques maybe. Like we saw a lot of entries that had a lot of, leaning into AI smartly. So little bits like that that they bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think it's so much about what was missing, but it's more about, this business is constantly about evolution and reinventing, and I feel that there is, when you're working with the young, they bring in a new perspective. They probably will not pay as much heed to some rules that now have become normal for us because it doesn't exist for them. So it's great to have those kind of perspectives also for you to be able to lean into when you need it. And that's what we are hoping to find with initiatives like this.
Okay. And AI has taken over a lot of creative production processes in advertising today. Do you think it has raised the creative bar by making execution easier, or has it made originality harder to achieve?
I think it's a little bit of both maybe. It helps in certain respects, in terms of timelines, for example, because you invariably have lesser time than you ever did. So certain parts of visual effects and animation lean into AI a lot more, and that helps us because it makes things faster. But to answer your question, yes, it also means that the bar is very high, and if you're just going to do regular stuff using AI, it doesn't really strike a chord with anyone. It needs to be special. It needs to have something more than the usual. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I also think that too much of the narrative with AI has been had with a tone of fear. And I think most of the conversation around AI is becoming about efficiency. I think the real it needs to be, let's talk with excitement around AI and let's start talking about excellence. Today there is no line to the possibility that you can execute. So you don't have to worry about, you can really stretch yourself to do whatever you want. And I think somewhere the more we lean into this with excitement and excellence, I feel we really find that AI is something that's going to just make us better. That said, the reality about it is AI needs even more authentic thinking, authentic perspectives, because it only feeds off what already exists.
Yeah.
So who's going to put in stuff that doesn't exist?
Yes.
It's humans.
Fair. Okay. And do you think Indian advertising industry is producing enough culturally influential films today?
So what do you mean by culturally?
Culturally influenced, like a lot of cultural concepts are being inculcated in ad films. Like we saw the Bengal ad today,
Yeah.
or the South Indian ad where she was talking about environment, safety and how you're supposed to conserve it. So a lot of cultural concepts are being infused. So do you think a lot
there
of...
you go. Already
Yeah.
you're talking about two that you saw.
Yes, today.
Today. So yeah, to answer your question, there's a lot of that.
Okay.
And I agree. I do think, see, we are a very diverse country. Forget our culture, region, language, taste, everything changes every 100 kilometers. That's the full story about India, right? And I think the need to connect at a local level is getting more and more important, which means that you need to be able to tell those stories, have those conversations in those regions in a way that appeals to them the most. What probably why we're all seeing it a lot more, it probably always happened. I'm sure it always happened, right? It happened at a much smaller scale. Today with digital just make sure we see a lot more of it. So we're enjoying a lot more of it, which also helps directors you're not probably thinking about come out of the woodwork or come out of the backgrounds where they've been like relegated to probably ye to sirf region karega. So that's really I feel that's really the difference, and the way someone from a region can have that conversation, not someone who's not from probably can't put in those nuances. I mean, like the guy who won, the nuancing he had in his work totally captured the region. It felt like authentic to Kerala. It felt you could tick all those boxes. Everywhere else, someone will have to think about what do I inject. For him, it came naturally, probably grew up there. So he knows it more than we do. So it's good.
All right, okay. For you, Rahul, so when you joined McCann as CCO, you mentioned that advertising is truly a creative business only when creativity is used to build businesses. So, true to that, do you think creative storytelling has taken a backseat due to this?
I think that every brand is actually always telling a story, and you buy into the story, and that's where you are willing to pay more for the brand. In this day and age of so many D2C brands coming into play, if you really want to go from being a product to a loved brand, you need to have a story. So without the story, there is no brand.
Right.
If you're asking, is the way that traditionally stories were told, is there still room for that? I think the beautiful thing about a story is there is room for all kinds of stories, as long as there are stories you want to hear and are interesting.
Right.
The one thing we all need to now start acknowledging is that for anything that is mediocre, there is AI. Right?
True, yeah. Okay. And one criticism of the advertising industry today is that agencies are expected to produce exponentially more assets without proportional budget growth. Is the economics of creativity broken?
I think the traditional economics of creativity has changed. And there will be a need to pivot to somewhere kind of protect more than anything else our people.
Right.
Right? Because we are one of the few industries where the only asset we have, and I read it somewhere, I don't know who said this, advertising is probably the only industry where your biggest asset walks out of the door every day, right? And you don't know if they're going to come back.
Yeah.
If you're going to make them come back, you got to make sure that you are making them feel they're growing as individuals, as professionals, in terms of learning, in terms of growth, in terms of money, and it costs something, right? I think what is probably something we all need to figure is how do we make sure that the client sees the value in what they are getting versus it just becoming about scope of work. And yes, that is a reorganization of thinking both at the client's end and at our end.
Right.
Because yes, somebody will do it cheaper will give you something today, it will cost you something tomorrow. Right? No point in crying tomorrow. So you might as well kind of figure out how you're going to get those people on your side today.
Right.
So there is and I think it's already happening. If you look at even the consolidation that's happened is one big step towards that, right? It's just like kind of reorienting the advertising business because there isn't enough to probably spread it across so many agencies. But by doing this, you're getting more minds in one place. Right? The second thing which I always talk about is there's a something I was reading about neurodivergence, right? The thing about neurodivergence is that neurodivergence actually is going to be even more needed in the time of AI, because all the new connections and the unexpected ways of thinking is going to come from neurodivergent thinkers. And where is the world's largest collection of neurodivergent thinkers in one place? Go to an ad agency. Most of them don't even know it, that they're neurodivergent, but they're all in one place. The ability for you to make your brand shine comes from people who can make connections that are not linear, are unexpected, and are exciting and interesting. You got to know that if you want them to play in your corner, you got to also entice them. I keep telling clients, it's as much your job to keep great talent on your business, not just mine.
True.
Because if you are not going to make them feel excited about coming to work every day, good talent gets bored very easily, right? So I think it's everyone's responsibility. I think clients need to play a little more. I would feel that they should also know that there's a responsibility. You want great people on your brand.
Right.
Let's create an environment where they do the most authentic, effective work. And for that, you have to understand that it's almost also an investment into it and not just a cost.
Right.
And आप जितना इसको सिर्फ cost के तराजू से तोलोगे, तो ये it will then start getting into these kind of conversations, right? Which is it broken? Is the economics working? Is not? But there is no value. I mean, end of the day, the question which I mean, why is Nike's brand valuation higher than that of a normal juta? That brand valuation is the creativity that went into the brand.
Right.
Now, if that is a money metric, but you don't know how to pay the people who are giving you the money metric, then you are doing a disservice to your business. It may not be, in short term, it may not feel like it's impacting your bottom line, but in the future it will.
All right, fair. And for Kashif, in today's advertising environment, where brands demand speed and scale, are agencies and marketers giving enough importance to finding the right directors for an idea?
Yeah, I think so. I think that almost everybody wants the most perfect person for the job.
Right.
So the intent is always that, and in fact they make us dig deeper to kind of find the right person for it. So that's the due diligence that stays.
Okay. And how are brands and agencies investing differently in production today compared to a few years ago? Is there an ongoing, conversation about production budgets shrinking? You would know that. And how sustainable is that?
Well, I don't think that's an overall, shrinking budget. I think that most brands know, when they have a certain scale of a project, they would expect it to land in a certain budget.
Right.
I think what most of them try and angle to do is do a lot on a single day of shoot, and that's something that probably needs to be reworked. There's already a conversation now about whether it's fair to extend beyond 12 hours of work. There's a big conversation online, and so that's probably a question mark. But I think most people know that a certain film or campaign, if it's meant to be done by X person, then it's going to land in this much money. I don't think it's like a surprise to them.
Okay.
I do think that it also needs a little more reflection, and I do think that what has changed is the life of content.
Okay, right.
So initially you did something, whether you like it or not, मैं कुछ 40 बार देखूंगा. अभी जब तक ये अच्छा नहीं है, I'm not gonna see it, right? I'm not gonna see it again. If I like it, I'll see it again and again. So otherwise, the content you would have produced it, and no matter how much money you put into it, how much time you took to produce it, if I don't like it, the chance I don't need to see it again. Right? So that reduces the life of content. So which comes back to the same thing. How do you become more interesting and more engaging? Because then the money you pay for it makes sense.
Right.
Otherwise, the money if you're paying that much for with absolutely boring stuff which you're only going to see once, it doesn't make any economic sense for anyone.
Right.
So I feel, again, it comes back to the same thing. How are we going to look at work? Are you only going to be pouring in more content in a time when people don't have time for content? You know, it's a perfect example. Look at the OTT world. Everyone comes and says, "Meri library mein largest library," and yet I see people sitting in front of Netflix and okay, I don't want to take the brand names, but sitting in front of these channels and scrolling and saying, "I don't know what to watch. I don't have anything to watch. Nothing is interesting me." So volume is not the game. If you have a really good piece of work, people will. I mean, I still remember, since I'm in McCann, I can probably talk about it. Back in McCann, I can probably talk about it because I was in McCann when it got done, which was Happy Dent, and this is well before the time of digital. It was released on a weekend because the film was long. It was released on one weekend, and people went and found it online after that.
Okay.
Right? So, if you create something really good, people go and find it. So it really comes down. Then the economics make sense.
Right.
If I invest in something that's really good, then yeah, and you're seeing that in OTT also, right? When somebody is doing one fantastic thing, which you're putting so much money in, it pays back in the interest and the conversation. I mean, we're also sitting at a time where 4,000 crore की एक फिल्म निकलने वाली है ना अभी, तो at the same time there are people making films in 3 crores.
Yeah.
पर घूम फिर के आप 4,000 करोड़ को एक बार देखने जाओगे, दूसरी बार तो नहीं देखने जाओगे, अच्छी नहीं है तो. So it does come down to what are you getting for it.
Okay, fair. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay,
This was
thank
pretty
you so
insightful,
much.
And I hope to
Yeah.
see more of Fresh Take in the coming years.
Absolutely, we also.
Yeah.